Hello everybody and welcome to a football podcast that precedes unfortunate events. I am Callum, joined here by...
Lewis, hello, I'm here again.
And...
Toby, hello everyone.
We're finally back after like a 3-4 month layoff. How long's it been?
Little break, short break, a week off.
Just a short break. Didn't take too long, we're back. But today we've got an interesting one for you. But we start how we always do, boys. We'll start with you, Toby. How'd your team get on this weekend?
I don't know, it was a tough one to take. Obviously the one draw with Man United. Casemiro with a last minute equaliser. It was, well, the way they celebrated, it looked a lot more like a winner, to be honest. Which in fairness, it did feel a bit more like a loss for us, you know what I mean? It was 2 points lost more than 1 point taken. But I don't know, it was weird. Obviously the first half we didn't play very well. And then Potter made that change. I don't know who did he take off. Cucurella won it for Kovacic, and obviously went to a 4 at the back, and we looked really good, to be fair. Just Aubameyang, he kept missing them chances. Like, first touch in the box was so poor. Like, we could have been 2 up, and then it just slipped away from us. We bottled it at the end.
You mentioned that United had their spells there. Do you reckon that a draw was probably a fair result, or do you think Chelsea deserved to win?
I don't know. I think it's definitely in that first half. They definitely deserved a goal. Like, that first 20 minutes, we were all over the place. So yeah, I guess it was a fair result in the end, but to play how well we did in the second half, how we reacted, it was a bit annoying to then concede so late in the game.
And what do you make of Potter overall so far?
I don't know. I'm very happy, to be fair. I think we're playing slightly more exciting football, but I don't know, the results weren't coming. I guess we did so well against Milan in them 2 games that I don't know. It's hard to take, because I think with Tuchel, there's a lot of comparisons between the two. I think we're still not playing that attractive football. Like, it's still not all clicking, which is fair enough because he's only been in for a few months. But yeah, I think there is progress there. I think we're slowly getting better, and yeah, after this season's done, next season it'll be really exciting to see where we are. Obviously after the World Cup as well, that'll be interesting. Well, for every team in the league, every team. It'd be exciting to see how we get on, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's been weird to see, I think everyone expected the way Chelsea played to almost speed up under Graham Potter, but it's slowed down, it's become a lot more possession oriented, and I think, it's something that will take time. Chelsea have gone under that system with Tuchel for so long of just getting the ball into positions, and when I watched Chelsea under Tuchel, it seemed a lot that there was never that intent to get that killer ball in the box. It was either a cross or pass back to the centre-backs. I think under Potter you've already seen a change, and I think it's a matter of time, really. I think a lot of people wanted to jump on Potter, but I don't know. I think he's a good manager. I think he's to the top has been, it's an inspiring story for a lot of people who want to be a football manager. What was he? Leeds Beckett University in 2008, their assistant manager or something dopey like that, and now he's managing in the Champions League and probably tonight about to take his team through to the knockout stages. So I think it's one of those where it's interesting to see. But if we move on to a team a bit less glamorous, even with 40 shots over the combined 2 games, Lewis, how did Stoke go?
Well, maybe less glamorous is a bit harsh. You forget that Graham Potter wanted the Stoke job in 2018, and we told him to do one. Wow. So, and here we are. So yeah, it's been this time last week. I'd have been buoyant as a Stoke fan. I think I told both of you that we were going up, and that these next 2 games are an easy 6 points. Well, those easy 6 points did amount to 0 points. And 0 goals.
And classic Stoke.
Yeah. It's we're just so inconsistent, and as you alluded to there, we had so many chances, which sort of has me in 2 minds about the results, because yes, we've not got any points. It's crap. We're 17th in the league, but the performances are so much better than they were under O'Neill, because under O'Neill I couldn't tell you anything we'd do. I'd fall asleep watching the games. But say that Rotherham game, for example, we conceded the goal early on because Jagielka had to go off because of a head injury. We've therefore left a man free on the edge of the box. They've got it to that bloke and he's scored. And then they've just piled 11 men behind the ball. But we built up some really good attacks. We just couldn't finish them. Which, you blame your strikers, but we've got one of the best attacking forces in the league on paper. We've got Gale, we've got Campbell, we've got Liam Delap on loan, who he looks okay. He was just on the floor for half the game.
You've got guaranteed goals in the Championship, Dwight Gale. You've got the best striker in the Championship.
In fairness to Gale, I feel a bit sorry for him because he's had 5 goals disallowed for offside, 3 of them wrongly. So I genuinely think it's cliche, but once his first one goes in, he will score. Tyrese Campbell, on the other hand, he's getting a lot of stick, and rightly so. If he could trap a ball, if he had a good first touch, he would be one of the best strikers in the division. But he doesn't. He's like a pony. It's like Lukaku. You fire a ball at him, it bounces off 5 metres in the other direction, and he doesn't do anything. And when he has got the ball under control, his shots have been straight at the keeper because he's desperate. It's like the 80th minute. And we don't look good defensively either. Like we'll show good spells in the game, we'll deal with stuff in the air, but then if somebody runs at us, we won't know what to do. You saw with the Gustavo Hamer goal the other day against Coventry, he just ran between the 2 centre halves and scored. He had no other choice.
Is Sutar back yet, or is he still injured?
He has played 2 lots of. I think he played 45 minutes and then 60 minutes with the 23s over the last week.
All right,
so just in time for Australia, conveniently.
And just in time for that good performance of Australia and that January transfer.
Yeah, isn't it? Well, who've Australia got in their group? Have they got like France or someone?
France, Denmark.
Yeah, he's going to get railed by Mbappe and then have no confidence coming back
into the team. You say this,
team.
Australia keep 2 clean sheets against France and Denmark now.
To
be fair though, World Cups, the one thing I will say about stuff like that is we'll probably speak about this more when we do something around the World Cup, which obviously starts in 3 weeks now?
Yeah, it's not long now, under a month.
Yeah, about players who have performances at World Cups and then go for stupid transfer fees. You look at people like Arshavin to Arsenal. There's loads. And
James Rodriguez.
That's a fair point though. That it'd be weird to see if anyone has an amazing World Cup and they move in January.
It's what terrifies me
so
about.
Strange if that actually happens.
January's normally a quiet window as well, I think it'll be a hive of activity this year.
It's going to be hectic, and there's a certain Belgian midfielder who plays for Everton that we'll get onto that I'm very worried about having a good World Cup because he looks like Belgium are going to start him.
How did Everton do at the weekend? You've not mentioned.
We're about to get into it. It's we played 2 games over the past week, and it's very Jekyll and Hyde. We got absolutely annihilated by Newcastle, 1-0 all over us. We had our chances, to be fair, and we probably should have taken our chances. And for spells of the game, it looked positive that we were really battling with a team as well, doing as well as Newcastle. Just beating Tottenham, I'm pretty sure. I think they're still in the top 4.
Yeah, they're top 4 now.
And so it was positive, but then, we came into the weekend game at Goodison against Palace, and to be fair, I expected a win. I'm not going to act like I didn't expect us to win, but in the convincing fashion that we did win, I really didn't expect it. I thought 2-1. I thought Palace would have a majority of the ball. I thought Palace would create a majority of the chances. We absolutely dominated them. 10 minutes in, Calvert-Lewin got his, I think it's his second start, first home start, gets a goal in 10 minutes. Once again, Iwobi comfortably the best player at the club, assists the goal, and then you move in. Not much happens then for the rest of the first half. We create a few chances, but besides that, there's not really much. Then you get into the second half. Anthony Gordon gets a tap in after a rebound, but it's so well worked. It started at the right hand centre back and then moved all the way down to the left back on the edge of the box. Mikalenko strikes it, keeper can't get a hold of it, Gordon taps it in, and it looked so much better, the football we were playing. We looked so much more dominant on the ball. And once again, we're mentioning when we get into about the 84th minute here, one of the best goals I've seen Everton score, team goals, in years, probably since Roberto Martinez maybe. Dwight McNeil dribbles through 2 defenders, gets it to the edge of the box, to Iwobi backheels it back, McNeil's there to finish it off. Absolutely fantastic. And to be fair with Everton this season, we've all given small reviews of our clubs this season. It's been a good season so far. We've had a few results that have annoyed me, but I think we've looked a lot more reinvigorated. I think we get better in each game under Frank, really, and we've shown that we can battle with these teams above us in the table. And when we get into what we're going to talk about later, well, very soon actually, I don't think we've made a bad signing. I think every signing has improved the team massively, and I think going into our next game, I think it's Fulham away, who are also on good form. That's going to be a real testing game. And I think we've got 3 Premier League games before the World Cup, and I realistically could see us taking 9 points out of it. And then where does that put us in this position going after the World Cup when the team... Because I can't see a lot of our team really going to the World Cup. I can see a few of them, maybe a few players we're going to talk about today, English players specifically, could go. But, I think it's one of those where these next 3 games could really defy our season, because I think like our second game back after the World Cup's Man City at their ground. So, a fully Haaland who's got to rest for a month. You know what I mean? That's not going to be good, is it? So I think we need to pick up as many points as possible before that game.
Can we just go back to Alex Iwobi a minute? How good is Alex Iwobi?
Alex Iwobi has genuinely been one of the best creative players in the Premier League this season.
I think he's easily top 5 midfielders so far.
I think if we're going to form, top 3. I think he's
Yeah.
only behind. I think maybe second, only behind De Bruyne. And I know people will look at that and go, "Well, it's Alex Iwobi," but every statistic backs him up. I think he's got the second most chances created in the Premier League behind De Bruyne, in a similar role to De Bruyne, that deeper midfielder who brings the ball up. I think it's. Don't get me wrong, he was good under Frank those last few months of the season, and he kept improving each game. But to go to this standard where he's second most assists in the Premier League now, tied with Bernardo Silva, for an Everton team that can't, he's got 5 assists for an Everton team that can't score goals. It really sums up that I'm not saying he's start for Man City, but let's say he's a bench player for Man City going this form, you swap him. Is Alex Iwobi on 8 or 9 assists right now? Is Alex Iwobi, because he's nowhere near Kevin De Bruyne's level. I'm not stupid enough to say anything like that.
You are. You fully are.
No, I'm not that bad.
Give it a week.
Listen, if we beat Man City and Iwobi gets a hat-trick of assists and De Bruyne does nothing, you might hear some propaganda there. But yeah, I think it's a good story to see, because listen, on this podcast I've come and slated Alex Iwobi. I'll be the first person to admit that.
Used to meme him, you know what I mean? Alex Iwobi is one of them players that used to go, like, compare someone's shit to him.
Yeah, he was fully the scapegoat.
Yeah, and he's been incredible.
And don't get me wrong, deservedly so, he was the scapegoat. He was crap. But it does show, and it's a positive sign that, one thing I did used to always say on this pod, and you can probably look back at a few episodes, I used to say, listen, I don't like dogging on players personally for the performances. If you crap at football, it's not a gel on you personally. You're not very good at it. I'm not going to say anything personal about him, and it didn't really make me dislike him as a person.
Who brought him in? Who was Everton manager when?
It was
Ronald Koeman.
I think it was Ronald Koeman. Yeah, the only good thing he ever did for this club.
Where did he always used to play on the left? Like, him playing so much deep, he's such a joy to watch.
But even saying that, he played
midfield.
in the 10 against Palace. He's been played central now, and look at
He looks so good.
It was always one of those though where a lot of Everton fans would look at Iwobi and go, "Well, he's never been played in his natural position." Then he suddenly gets put in his natural position. And
Do you think this is a mould that other teams will try? We've seen Newcastle do a similar thing with Joel Winton. We're seeing Everton do it with Iwobi. Do you think? What other players do you think there are that could?
Like people dropping deep, them creative players dropping deep just to break the lines.
It's a very sort of modern shift, isn't it?
There's quite a few, isn't there? And it's because we're in the creative striker era of football now, really, where you look at players like how Roberto Firmino's been at Liverpool in previous seasons.
So a striker comes in, sees they have to fill this mould where they have to create chances, and then I'm pretty good at this, so end up drop deeper.
Yeah, but don't you think that is now they're getting them creative midfielders playing deeper, and that number 9 is coming back? Because I think that's what's happening. We're seeing the shift where
like back when the
centre
false 9 was
forwards,
trend.
the false 9 at elite level anyway in the Premier League. In the whole of the Premier League, I can't name one false 9 now, really.
No, I wouldn't.
Unless Liverpool don't have.
I wouldn't say Roberto Firmino's a false 9 right now, because the amount of goals
he's playing deeper and he's playing behind.
Yeah, I think you look at.
But then he did that role for Hoffenheim, didn't he?
Yeah,
he wasn't an out striker there.
I think he was a midfielder, and then Liverpool moved him forward. Yeah, I think it's weird because there's quite a lot of teams now that there's rarely any teams that don't get the strikers involved in build-up play. One of the only ones, ironically, being Man City, where they let Haaland do all the work off the ball, and that's where they get the.
Yeah, they can afford to though. He's a machine.
That's what I mean. So you even look at Everton, who've got a very stereotypical target man goal poacher in Calvert-Lewin. Still, Calvert-Lewin drops deeper in between, with almost next to Alex Iwobi sometimes to chest the ball down to a winger to head the ball on, and it's showing that I think someone did some form of tactical analysis on a game against Palace, and it ended up turning into a 3-2-5 in attack, something stupid like that. So I think it's one of those where you don't really see a Haaland Mulder player much anymore, and I think we'll get into that when we talk about them soon. So it's quite refreshing to see that you've got all these teams that are now willing to take a gamble on a player like Joel Linton, who went from Newcastle fans saying this is the worst signing we've made, look how much money we spent, and no return, to one of the best box-to-box players in the Premier League. And Alex Iwobi's gone from a winger who didn't really have that turn of pace to beat a man on the wing. He had the dribbling ability, but he could dribble, and then the end product was there, to a number 10 who doesn't have to have that game-breaking speed because he has the space to dribble, and now that final touch, that end product's getting there, it's now all getting put together. So I could, don't get me wrong, that might be a thing we talk about in a future episode where is there any players now playing in a position, for example, Trent moving into midfield, stuff like that. I think we will see a lot more experimentation like that with players because teams can afford to do it now, really. I think, you look at even teams in the relegation zone, you get so much money from the Premier League now that you can afford to take these risks for stuff like that. And, if you find a gem like a Joe Linton, a gem like an Alex Iwobi, who, now you look at it and go, well, Joe Linton probably wasn't worth 40 million, but you go, yeah, I'm not going to complain about it. You look at Alex Iwobi now, that's probably a 40, 50 million pound player, never mind a 30 million pound player. Obviously, his time at Everton, we can't say it's been a success until we get a full season like this, or a full season of even 3/4 of this level is good enough for that price. But it's one of those things where if you see a player has strengths that can be suited to another position, why not try it?
I completely agree, to be fair. Anyway, we digress a bit. Back to Frank Lampard. I just wanted to get your opinion. Obviously, he's the only one of the three that's not been sacked from our teams. But it looked like nailed on that he would be the first one out of the three to be sacked at the end of last season. What's changed? How has he gone from being so sort of dull in the way he sets up his team and plays to having Everton on the front foot playing exciting stuff?
I think the problem is that the media like to dog on Lampard because he's been sacked already, and because Gerrard became the media darling for winning with Rangers. And who was the other English manager? There was a few.
It was Gerrard, Lampard, and
that was it, wasn't it?
No, there was another one.
I think they tried to lump another. I feel like it might have been.
Did they lump Vieira in there?
They did lump Vieira in there. They were because the great midfielders. Realistically, there's a case Lampard's the best out of the three. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but what's he done this season? What's different?
Well, it's different. It's difficult because I think he wanted to do this last season, but the goal was to keep us up.
Yeah, the pressure was on.
So I think he just went, right, we're gonna do the Sam Allardyce tactic. We're gonna make sure we survive. Then I can do what I want.
Then you can build on it. Yeah.
I think it's one of those where I've always stated and always will state Frank was out of that group the best manager, and I don't think it was close. I always said Frank could have done the same thing Gerrard did for Rangers and done more, because in the end you saw it at Derby. You saw the building blocks he placed at Chelsea to get them where they are now. Because let's not forget that's Thomas Tuchel. Frank Lampard would have never won Chelsea the Champions League, but it was his building blocks that made Thomas Tuchel's job much easier to come into to set up. The three at the back system was something Frank was setting up. So as soon as Tuchel came in, Tuchel looked and went, right, cool, I can do this now and I can implement that tactical knowledge. But the one thing I will say about Frank is it depends where Everton want to be, because I think the club is ambitious and we're building this new stadium, this state-of-the-art stadium. In the end, we don't want that to be in that stadium and finishing 12th every year. We want to be at least challenging for the Conference League, maybe even the Champions League. Is Frank that man? Maybe. Maybe Frank's the one who can push us into Europa League, into Conference League, and then maybe
Jesus, you're looking that high already?
Not this season. Maybe, because I think the club now, he's done so much for the club that the club are going to give him a little leeway. They're going to let him lose a few games and go, you're the man who saved us, you're the man who... In the end, it's very similar to what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did at first with Man United. The first spell where they should have gotten rid of him and gotten a world-class manager in. After that, he set the building blocks, he got the confidence high, he got them playing good football at spells. Frank Lampard's doing the same with us, and don't get me wrong, there's a few slip-ups every now and again, but every player that's been signed has been fantastic. That's... Kevin Felwell from Wolves has done a fantastic job as well with that. He deserves just as much of the credit as Frank. And it's completely... The system changed. The playing attacking football. There's not a single player in this entire squad who's been worse than last season.
Yeah, if your recruitment stays the same as it has been, if you keep going along them lines of solid players coming in, like proven players, and obviously a few like Onana who, are exciting and promising, then, yeah, I think you can really definitely push for them Europa spots, because obviously it's getting there's so many teams in there now who are of that quality who want European football. It's going to be so tight because it's obviously you who have Fulham at the moment anyway. I think they're not going to get it.
I think Brighton are the most
Brighton,
obvious.
Obviously, Newcastle, they're going to get Europe, I think.
No, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and even if Newcastle finish higher, they're pushing one of the other teams down.
Brentford as well.
I think that's the thing, and I think the thing is with a Newcastle is I think Newcastle are bound to slip up.
Do you think?
No, not this.
What makes you say that?
Form, as in transfer-wise. There's so much.
Because they've got so much money and it's
you've
all
got
very
so
new.
much money that there's going to be a Neymar, a player of that caliber that they go, well, we're Newcastle, we have to sign him. It's just, and then he's going to not want to play for the club. It's going to be just like Robinho at Man City, and then Like, don't get me wrong. I think Newcastle are now. They're going to be the team to finally break the Big Six, in my opinion.
But I think their transfer mould has been so good because they've not aimed for that
They've been
massive
sensible,
name.
But
player.
it is like
when everybody's speculating they need their Robinho signing, they've not gone
But
out
they did.
and
They made
spent
their
a
Robinho.
load of money
they
on
did make the
somebody,
Robinho signing.
a big name. I don't think Kieran Trippier counts.
No, I
Isaac.
think
Isaac,
Isaac,
yeah.
70 million.
I think they did it at the time where they knew that if he goes somewhere else, there's not going to be another striker in the market of that value. And I
Because
think
my only thing with
he's looked
Isaac
good
as
since
well
he got injured. So.
is I don't think Isaac's that 25 goal a season striker that you're paying 70 million
Do you not
for.
think?
I think he's good and he's got all the thing, but I think, to be completely honest with you, Callum Wilson has scored the same amount of goals in a full season. That's a thing where Alexander Isaac's going to get better, and they're sitting with players like Sven Botman and players that they've signed. They're expecting them to get better, but he's injured already, I think. He's had injury issues in the past. 70 million? And this is coming from someone who, like, I know if you look on stuff like Twitter, Everton and Newcastle fans don't like each other. But I cannot complain about a single signing Newcastle have made under this regime so far. Kieran Trippier arguably has a case for being the best right back in the league. He's definitely up there.
This season, yeah.
He's completely changed that defence. He's
Bruno
a
Guimaraes
he's a fantasy football fan's dream. Kieran Trippier. Bruno Guimaraes, in my opinion, is the best player outside the top six. Not even close.
Yeah, I don't think it's up for debate.
Yeah, and I think I said to you, he can play for any team in the league, every single team in the league. He can make his way into that position, and it's because I think he was more of a deeper midfielder at Lyon, and then Newcastle have given him that freedom to attack, and now it's really got the best out of him. And for what, 40 million? You don't get midfielders of that quality anymore for £40 million. You just don't. I think it really shows, and I think Newcastle will be the first team. But I think, like you said, that 7th spot in the league is going to be so. It's going to be so open, in my opinion, in future years, especially if we keep going the way we are. Because in the end, players like Mikalenko, Nathan Patterson, who was fantastic before the injury, Amadou Onana, these players who are, Anthony Gordon's still young, and he's getting better. Like, don't get me wrong, I think that 60 million we could have got from you would have been game changing, and maybe we should have taken it. But if I can't really go against Frank's decision making so far because he hasn't really made a wrong decision so far. So if he sees this player in Anthony Gordon that can be this more than £60 million player, right now he's earned the trust to keep going and earn that and give Gordon that chance to possibly, be one of those players that are in the periphery of the England squad. But don't get me wrong, we've got players like Foden, Grealish, Mount, and all those, which obviously makes it impossible for a player like Gordon, because I don't think he's going to be at the level of a Foden or a Mount. I feel it'll be the tier just below them. I feel like he could get to a James Maddison tier of player, but that's going to come with time and with development. So I think it's a thing where you have to trust Frank with his decision making. Same as Chelsea at Graham Potter, and even you with how Alex Neil's been so far. You've got to give these managers time, and you've got to trust them to make the right decision. And we could have sacked Frank after a skid last season and gone right, Allardyce, come on, we'll find someone in thing it. If we'd have done that, we'd have been screwed this season, because Poch might have joined, possibly, but we'd have had to offer him a game-changing amount of money, to be honest, and that could have done the club in, especially where we were with FFP. We've worked on a budget, and what we spent. I think we spent 78 million. Sold Richarlison for 60. Sold a few other players. In the end, we've spent in our means, and then it gives me hope that if Farhad Moshiri is going to keep giving the club big sums of money, now we've got a recruitment team in where if we're going to spend 50 million on a player, it's going to be on a player who's going to get us 50 million worth of value.
Yeah, no, he's been good, and let's hope for the best for Everton, really, under old Frank.
Yep.
Yeah, so how is it for you? How is it for you, Toby? Seeing Frank Lampard at the club?
I'm loving it, really, mate. Obviously, with Gerrard sacking in the week, I think that just proves everything.
Bet you're buzzing.
Yeah, and obviously on Gerrard as well, Unai Emery
manager.
going in. What's your thoughts on that? I think that's a great appointment.
Unai Emery, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I think it's a really good from Villa.
I've got a mate who's a Villa fan who didn't like it, and I was like, why? Because in the end, he's steady. He's going to get you where you need. And
is he steady though? I saw it as a very ambitious appointment.
No, as in he's steady, guaranteed results. Unai Emery.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. I see steady as a Sam Allardyce, Tony Pulis is going to keep you.
I
in the
mean,
Prem.
as in steady for where Villa want to be, which is pushing Europe.
I think he'll get him on the right course.
I realistically could see Villa now finishing 8th.
Oh yeah, because
they might go on a
pre-season
run,
Villa had one of the squads to be scared
of.
of.
Villa have arguably got the best squad out of the top 6. Arguably, you look at all. If you're going off name value of the players, you look at some of the players they've got in that squad. Boubacar Kamara stealing him from Man United. John McGinn, before the season, everyone was like, "Oh, John McGinn's one of the best midfielders in the league," and now all of a sudden it's dropped because of bad performances under Gerrard. You've got Douglas Luiz who's really stepped up this season, and don't get me wrong, it's not that. And then you've got who else am I missing out? Danny Ings. Let's not forget that the guy did score 20 goals for Southampton in the league at one point. Ollie Watkins is terrible. I'm not even going to mention him. Lucas Digne, who a lot of people said, oh, he's not as good as Everton fans made out, and then as soon as he left for Villa and started performing, he said, oh no, he's just as good as Everton fans made out, and stuff like that. He's dropped off a bit, but you look at the squad they've got and the talent they've got. Diego Carlos, when he comes back, even though I don't think that's until the end of the season. Philippe Coutinho should never be playing for a team like Aston Villa. No offence to Aston Villa fans.
He's been atrocious this season.
I think he just needs to...
I reckon he'll change under Emery if he finds a role for him.
That, and look who, as soon as Steven Gerrard left, how good a player like Leon Bailey started performing. A player who everyone...
he's been quite good this season, to be fair.
He's shown signs of promise.
Yeah, he did, but then he's just so inconsistent, and he's just...
Buendia as well.
Buendia, I think you look at an attack of players like, if Danny Ings can get on the form he played against Brentford, a strike, an attacking line of Coutinho, Buendia, Bailey, Ings. With Buendia and Coutinho, you've got guaranteed chances on a plate, and then Bailey's a winger who can finish to a top level, and then Danny Ings, who's got all those to be 15, 20 goals in the league just from being a goal poacher. So I think Villa are a team that should be pushing for 7th. There's no reason. If they finish in the bottom half, it's an atrocious season, and I won't blame Unai Emery on that unless he's terrible, because I don't think he was that bad at Arsenal.
It's a Europa League they can win.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Europa League expert if they manage to sneak their way in. But yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one, because what happens if a team outside the Big Six wins the FA Cup as well? Then they get a spot in.
Is it Europa League or is it Conference
League?
League?
I think Conference League is the Carabao Cup. Isn't
it was both the cups were traditionally Europa League.
I think Carabao Cup's surely Conference now.
Do you think?
I think you go through the qualifiers as well. So I think if you win the FA Cup, you go through.
I know we go through. Well, all I'm basing this on is when Stoke got to the FA Cup final in 2011, and we got Europa League football next season because City got Champions League, so they can.
Yeah. So for example, I think that is how it works. I think, for example, if Chelsea Everton play in the FA Cup final, you beat us, but you're in the Champions League, I think we get put in the qualifiers. Or it might be if you lose. It might change now. Might be if you lose, you get Conference League. If you win, you get Europa League, and then it might be something like that.
It's all weird. It's all very weird.
It is, but I think it could be very interesting, because I think with cup competitions, I feel like Everton, especially Newcastle, are teams that will perform better in cups because it's a one-game thing. It's a spur of the moment thing. I feel like this could be a season when we actually get an interesting FA Cup winner besides the Leicester year for a very long time. And we're back into the next section, the first big section of the pod for the new season, and we're going to be talking about signings, because it's definitely not almost November. We're going to be going through each signing, every single signing that actually matters, that people actually care about, because there's a few signings that haven't played and no one cares about, and we're going to be splitting them into a tier list. So you will not be able to see these tiers, but I'll break down the tiers for you now. At the top, we've got Haaland, and let's just get it over with. It's a tier exclusively for Haaland because the man is a machine. We'll get into Haaland a little bit more later. I think, when we're talking about the best signing in the league, then we'll get to talk about him. We've got great signing, good signing, meh, Umanias, and will get better. Umanias is if you are absolutely dreadful and there is no redeeming qualities. You're done already. So we're going to go through order of the league. Arsenal are at the top of the league right now. And let's start with the easiest one, in my opinion, because we'll get it done. Alexander Zinchenko will get better. When Zinchenko's played, he's been good, but he's got injured. He hasn't really played. But all the signs there for Arsenal's left back for the next few years. I think Zinchenko, when he's played, has been fantastic. I don't know what you lot think if you have seen the Arsenal games to comment on it, but every game Zinchenko's played in, he's had a real impact on the team and a real creative impact down that left side, and even swapped into a midfield role sometimes. I think, Zinchenko is, for what did they pay, 20 million or something like that?
Yeah, it wasn't a lot.
An absolute bargain deal, and I think he's one of the ones where, by the end of the season, we'd have been putting him in good or great signing. And, there's not really that much to say on him. We know he's a good player. We know the talent he's got. But
he started well. He started really well first couple of games. I also think his versatility will be crucially important, as you mentioned there.
Arteta likes playing them inverted wing-backs as well, doesn't he? He don't like the overlapping. And
I'm trying to think, have I missed an Arsenal signing? Zinchenko, Jesus, I think they were really the only ones, that big name signings, that have actually gone into the first team.
Well, Saliba sort of feels like a new signing, doesn't he?
Yeah,
but it
but
doesn't
he's
count.
If we were going to count Saliba would go in great signing.
Yeah, he's
but
class.
And Fabio Vieira, but he's hardly played, is he?
no, I didn't put him in really.
Yeah.
I mean, he's played a few Europa League
Prime
games.
Europa League
He
baller.
looks good.
I think Fabio Vieira right now would go and will get better too. I think so. Besides them, but straight into Gabriel Jesus, great signing.
Yeah.
Arguably the best signing in the Premier League if we're not going to count Haaland, because I think, no offense to Haaland, but there's a lot of City strikers who, someone said Harry Kane could emulate the output of Haaland. I don't think goals wise, but I think goal contributions he could have matched.
No one comes near Haaland's just not human, is he?
No, he's not. But I mean goal contribution, which includes assist. I think Haaland is. I still don't think he's the best striker in the world.
Do you not?
Well, I think the best striker in the world just won the Ballon d'Or, to be honest with you.
Do you think? Jesus.
I do. I think I'm not willing to completely write Benzema's performances off, or even someone like Lewandowski, just because Haaland's doing it in the Premier League.
I'm not writing them off, so say, but just look at what he's doing. You only have to watch the man for 30 minutes just to gauge how good he is.
The thing is, what I will say though with Haaland is he went from being on the periphery, so it was Benzema, Lewandowski, and then Haaland, because he was at Dortmund and was a little bit, and he never won anything, was a bit away. And now he's firmly in that category now, and to go from to go to the Premier League, to Man City, and to a lot of people thought he'll take some time to adjust. He's just annihilated the league. It's ridiculous. What is it, 17, 16 goals already?
It's stupid, isn't it?
I think it is, because I think it's 16, because he's 7 goals or 6 goals off the Golden Boot from last season. So it wouldn't surprise me if he breaks the Premier League scoring record. What is it, for like 32 from Salah? 33, something along those lines.
I thought you meant all time then. I was like, Jesus, you're getting a bit ahead of yourself.
Oh, don't get me wrong, it wouldn't surprise me if he breaks it. And someone put a stat up, didn't they, of if he kept this up, the same level of production, he'd break Algeria's record in like 4 or 5 seasons.
Yeah, I think this was after the United game.
Yeah, and
Ridiculous.
he's only kept scoring since then. So, but we're talking about Gabriel Jesus. Completely changed Arsenal's attack, in my opinion. He's give players like Martinelli and Saka so much more freedom. We all knew he was good at Man City, but I don't think we all knew he was this good. Jesus is bordering to that world class level now. I think I wouldn't say he's in that level yet, but he's bordering that world class player level now, because he's just. Don't get me wrong, a lot of fans, specifically fans of a certain Uruguayan striker who plays in Merseyside, will like to say that, well, my striker's got the same amount of goals and he's been crap. The thing is with Jesus is he's scoring goals, yeah, and I think the only problem now is scoring goals. This season as a new signing, there's only one striker you're really going to get compared to, but he's completely changed that Arsenal attack, and Arsenal attack that currently sits top of the Premier League, even with a monster like Erling Haaland. I think they're 4 points clear. If they win, I think they might have a game in hand, and if they win, they're 4 points clear. Those same fans who are 14 points behind this Arsenal team at top of the league, I think there could be. I don't think there will be a title challenge. I hope there is. I hope Arsenal can hold on, but I think eventually City will run away with it. But I think the main factor is going to be someone like Jesus. And what do you two think about the signing?
Yeah, like you said, he started really well. I think them opening 2 games, he really showed his quality. And yeah, it's just taken Arsenal to that next level. And yeah, it's scary times, obviously, as a Chelsea fan, seeing how I don't know how good their recruitment has been. And yeah, there's a part of me that wants Arsenal to, take City to it. But if City win, it's one of them. It's like they've won it again. Does it really matter? But yeah, it's exciting to see him. He's a great player. And like you said, he stepped out the shadow of Man City and them other amazing attackers who have been there at the time. He's never really been that number one choice, is he? I know last season he played quite well on the right, didn't he? I think he sort of played on that, supporting the central striker role, that false 9. But yeah, he's been good. He's been really good.
What are your thoughts on him, Lewis?
I mean, there's not a lot more we can say. I completely agree. There's not really that many negatives to him that he's shown so far. I genuinely think it's a great signing for Arsenal. Something very un-Arsenal, like we've seen in previous years. They've actually signed someone who's prolific.
Yeah, and we move on to the team currently second in the Premier League, and that's Manchester City. I was wrong, by the way, about Arsenal are 2 points ahead of Man City currently, but you don't really see that often nowadays. Teams, really battling with Man City. But we move to Man City. We've already spoke about Erling Haaland. Probably going to go down as one of the best signings in the league's history, even if he leaves in 2 years. I think City are going to win the league. To be honest, he's got the Champions League goal scoring record to prove that it might be a Champions League winner now, because now they've got that. They've got don't get me wrong, they've always had Kevin De Bruyne, who's been the best midfielder in the world for years now. Now they've got arguably the best striker in the world next to him, the best centre-back in the world with him, the best left-back in the world with him. You know, they've got all these positions that are filled with not just the world class now, because City have always had world-class players. Now they've got the best in the best you can choose in multiple positions. And I'm looking in the Champions League this season at teams who are performing well, who really challenges them. And Real Madrid are dropping points to Shakhtar Donetsk, but they do that every Champions League campaign. Bayern are looking good. Barca looking Barca. They look like they actually might drop down to the Europa League again. You know, it's one of those where... But we said this last year at the same time, to be fair. We said who's going to challenge Man City, and who ended up knocking City out.
Last year it was Real Madrid.
City and Real Madrid, ended up knocking them out. And, you know, so you never know, but I don't know. This season it really feels like this is it now. You know, I feel like it feels like now it's City are going to win it, and it'll take whoever beats them. It's going to take one hell of a job of doing, just like Real Madrid did last season, though. To be fair,
yeah, and we're seeing with City now, especially they've got a bit more depth, as we'll go into with this next signing, Manuel Akanji. It's just another layer to that defensive solidity, because they've been a bit sort of, what's the word, thin at the back.
Yeah,
haven't they, in recent years? But I think he's been a really good addition. We've seen in the games he's played this season how solid he can be, and he's just that step up from Nathan Ake.
Yeah, he is, and it really feels like they've got that. You know what, 15 million I think he costs, something ridiculously cheap like that. You know, had always been good for Dortmund. A bit of a weird signing, came through on deadline day, and it looked like
no one expected it today.
It looked like they've signed Haaland's mate to do him a favour.
Yeah,
but he's been
a monster in it as well.
I think
huge.
He's a human calculator as well.
Stepped in at right back as well, I think, for a few games. He's really offered that versatility that similar to Nathan Ake. And now City have got Diaz, Laporte, Stones, Ake. There's probably a few more.
Not bad, is it?
Kyle Walker, when he comes back, can play centre back if you need. You know, that's 6 really good options at centre back. And I
was going to say, when you're only playing 2 centre halves, you don't need more than 5.
I think he goes in good signing. I don't think he's the level of Jesus, and you know I don't want loads of players in great signing. There's going to be a few, but good signing. He's not
solid, isn't he?
If he was there to be City's starting centre back and he played every game, I might up it, but he's not. That's not his intention. He's there as a squad player.
I can support that.
And we move into third in the league now because City didn't sign anyone else, I don't think. Yeah, and that is Tottenham. We'll start with Yves Bissouma. Bissouma's a difficult one because he hasn't really been starting, but you know you look at the game against. The game against us is the prime example I can think of where Richarlison gets injured, gets subbed off, Bissouma instantly comes on and changes the game. I think with Bissouma right now is he's not really starting every game. He's being rotated in and out. And what did they pay? 40 million?
I'd say meh.
That's meh for me. I think arguably will get better, but I think he's played a bit too much to go into will get better.
Yeah,
so.
I think he's a lot better player than some of the players that we will put into this meh category.
Yeah, he is, but that's not what what the point is, you know, and that's a good point Lewis brings up. Just because, for example, there's going to be someone else in that tier with Jesus, who we will get to later, who plays for a certain club that lies 12th in the Premier League. That's not saying he's just as good a player as Gabriel Jesus, because I know what people get like on football Twitter, and it's one of those, but it's a thing where it's the impact they have on the team that is the main factor, not how well or how good of a player they are. But speaking of Tottenham, they made quite a few signings, and the next signing I can see is Christian Langler. I think it's Christian, isn't it?
Yeah.
Clement, sorry.
Clement, close.
I thought it was Christian. I don't know why I thought of that.
Christian Romero.
That's why I thought of it. I'd say good signing. He's played quite a lot for Spurs, offered that ball-playing centre-back option that they've needed.
Left-footed as well.
Yeah, been a lot better than people expected of him because
because he was the alternative to Bastoni at first, wasn't he? And obviously people wanted
that,
Bastoni.
And you know, it was him and Umtiti that were really taking the brink of it from Barca fans. More him because he was playing, and Barca fans didn't think that he was very good. And then you know they brought in Koundé, Christensen. I think they brought in Eric Garcia as a centre-back they bought recently. Which I think, am I missing anyone? I feel like they bought a few centre-backs. I feel like it wasn't just Koundé and Christensen.
No, they got that Uruguayan guy. What's his name?
Araujo's step up into the first team. So I think he's been a good signing though. I think he's offered Spurs that real option in the back three that they needed. I think Christian Romero's fantastic, but he can't do everything by himself. Eric Dyer's had a real revival of his career in that middle centre-back role, but they needed those centre-backs with some technical ability, that ability to move the ball, and I think he's definitely been a step up from what Basuma's been because he's consistently playing, so I think he's definitely going to do that. And another player who... This one's a difficult one because he's... Similarly, he hasn't played every game, I don't think, and, I think it's one of those where it's really hard to get a judge because I feel like Ryan Sessegnon's played more games than him. But...
It's been pretty even, I think.
Yeah, but at the same time, you look at his impact of when he's played... He's been really good when he's gotten the chance to play, and that's even Perisic. I don't know what you lot think, but Perisic is coming on every game, and I think currently he's played 12 and started 7, 3 assists in 7 appearances. But I think it's meh. He's a good player, and I think he's shown that he can have an impact. But if you're battling with Ryan Sessegnon for the left wing back spot, then you can't go in good signing. No offence to Ryan Sessegnon, I think Ryan Sessegnon's a good player than what people give him credit for. A lot of people are saying if we're going to play 3 at the back, he's actually in the case to be in the England squad as that left wing back because of what Antonio Conte's done to him in a similar fashion to someone like a Victor Moses. Even though Sessegnon was always kind of a wing back midfielder, but I can't put him any higher than Meh. He's had an impact when he's come off the bench. He's a good super sub, and he's a good player to step in those Champions League games. But I don't know what you lot think. I don't think I can put him in the same category if he's not guaranteed to start games, really.
I don't know. I think he's a good creative outlet from deep, which is what Tottenham seem to not rely upon. But it's a nice plan B to have if it's not working through the middle. I quite like him. I can't lie. I think you ridicule this competition he's got with Sessegnon, but I think that's healthy. I think it's really nice to have sort of 2 similar level wing backs because that will only strive them to do better because they want to get into the team. So I think. I think he will improve. I think he will turn out to be a really good signing. Just give him a bit of time.
He'll only improve Sessegnon. He'll only, learning off of him. Is good. I think Conte has also played him on the right as well a couple of times. I don't think he's been obviously as good. I think he got subbed off after playing right wing back. But yeah, he's decent, isn't he? Can't go wrong with.
I think he was signed for squad depth, but good signing is. I think. For example, Akanji stepped in and played quite a lot due to Kyle Walker's injury. Perisic is one where he's a veteran, isn't he? I think he's there to be a mentor.
It's a very smart signing though, because as Toby alluded to, he will improve Sessegnon because he's got the experience. He was never going to be the long-term option.
Now, my beautiful Brazilian
your favourite
boy,
man in the world,
Richarlison. Big price tag, but I think he's been good. I think he's been really good for Spurs so far. I think he's got 2 assists in the league. He's got 2 goals in 4 Champions League appearances. Got 1 on his debut. I think, and he's displaced Kulusevski out of the side. I think Kulusevski got injured, but I think for a time they were battling and Richarlison was getting the better of him. And you've seen the way everyone raves about Kulusevski. Richarlison's got to be a pretty good player if he's thingy. And what's Richarlison? I think he's 24, 25. Good signing. He's proven that he can step up to a competition like the Champions League and score goals. I think it's a good signing. I think him and Kulusevski are going to swap, but I think it's with them what makes me put Perisic in Met and Richarlison in good signing is Richarlison's one of those where realistically he's a good replacement for any of the front 3. He can play any
he's versatile, isn't he?
He's arguably, in my opinion, one of the most versatile forwards in the league for what he offers. I've seen it forever, and he played everywhere across the front for us. Arguably the player who saved us from relegation the most last season really steps up, and he earned this move to play in the Champions League, and I think he's performing that level, to be honest with you.
I agree with good signing purely because I enjoyed when he did those key POPs against Nottingham Forest. It got absolutely clattered.
This is what I mean. I said this to a Spurs fan on our course. He's a player where now you don't like him because he plays for us. When you sign him, you're going to love him. He came to me like 2 weeks later and went, I love Richarlison. And he's one of those. But I think
just what Tottenham needed, weren't they? He's a perfect sort of backup striker for
Kane. He's a shithouse.
If he ever gets injured, he's a shithouse, like you say, and
he winds people up.
He can play across the front 3.
He proved it against Forest. Got someone yellow carded by winding them up, and he knew what he was doing straight away. He wanted a Forest player to clatter him, and it worked perfectly. And I think that's a highlight of what someone who's going to have a lot of highlights going into this next few months. I know he's injured, but apparently he's going to be back for the World Cup. He's going to score Brazil the winning goal. That's
break his leg.
Yeah, listen, if you scored a winning goal at the World Cup, you take a broken leg. You know what I mean? It's one of those where we go on to that. But arguably, besides Arsenal, the most impressive team in the Premier League this season, in my opinion, for what they've done and where they were last season. Newcastle United, unbelievable job under Eddie Howe, and we go into their first signing, which is Sven Botman. Someone they were linked to in January, I believe, but Lille didn't want to let him go until the end of the season. Has come in, and I don't know if he's played consistently. I feel like him and Fabian Schär have been battling it out, but I feel like
Dan Burn as well, isn't it?
and Dan Burn, but 10 games, 9 appearances, 9 starts, sorry, and he's been a real rock in a Newcastle defence that's improved so much since
Trippier. Trippier's transformed that back four.
Trippier has transformed that back top. But Botman, same category again.
Good,
I think
yeah.
good. So, I don't think he's been that. And you mentioned Kieran Trippier. Let's get right into him. Where is he? I feel like he's actually.
He signed last
He was
season,
January.
Oh.
He was January last year.
Why-
You imbecile.
Yes, we did. Kieran Trippier. would
Anyway,
have been in the top
from
five.
Callum's Haller, Botman's very young. He will improve, but I think he has the potential to get into that great signing category. But
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
he needs a bit more
perfect
time.
step up for him.
he needs a bit more time.
Only 22. And listen, if he's Newcastle's best centre back in a Champions League finish, yeah, great signing. What, I think 30-40 million euros. So obviously scale that down for the pounds, and then
Well, it's similar right
yeah.
now.
And then Alexander Isaac, no, I'm joking, will get better. He got injured. Was quite impressive. I think it was against Liverpool where he got that goal.
Disallowed goal as well.
Got a
didn't he?
disallowed
He
goal,
was
and then he
unreal.
scored the game before.
Yeah, he scored.
Was it a
didn't
penalty?
No,
Yeah,
I think
scored
he
a penalty.
scored in his debut. He scored a normal goal, I think. Then he scored a penalty. Then he got one disallowed, I think, and then he got injured.
Mm.
But yeah, I think
Pretty good.
as I said this to the lads before the pod. I don't think he's worth 70 million. Injury record's not there. He scored 6 goals in La Liga the season before when he got a full season. It's one of those where I don't think he's worth 70 million, but that doesn't make him a bad signing. It's one of those where Newcastle needed a statement striker. Then everyone said they needed the Robinho, and yeah, I think that was someone like Kieran Trippier, but their big goal-scoring attacker that could really change the attack, and that is someone like Alexander Isaac. I think he's got all the tools to be one of the best strikers in Europe. He's got the dribbling ability, he's got the size, he's got the finishing touch, he's got everything you need. It's just about putting it all together, and I think under a coach like Eddie Howe, who's shown how he can improve players massively over his time at Newcastle and over his time at Bournemouth too, he's one of those managers that gets the best out of people, and in my opinion, controversial, probably the best English manager around right now. Might hurt you, Toby, for Potter, but
No.
I
No,
think
it's
Eddie Howe is the best English manager around right now. Would love to see him take Gareth Southgate's spot after the World Cup when he steps down, but
No chance.
no chance unless Newcastle let him do both at the same time, and he's willing to do that.
Nah.
I think it's a very rare
Career
thing.
mode.
It's rare to, and I'm trying to think of the last manager who did it. I feel like there'll probably be someone managing like Congo or something who's doing a club team as well. But I'm trying to think of the last big name manager who did both.
I don't think there has been one.
I think there has, but it'll have been like 80s, 90s. It'll have been like
Yeah.
the Italy manager was managing AC Milan as well, or something like that. I think it'd be cool to see. I do think it'd be somewhat, but I think the most likely team you're going to get to that is a mid-table Premier League team with no real, like for example, Crystal Palace manager. They're not going to be pushing for Europe. They're not going to be fighting for relegation. Someone who can afford to multitask. But yeah, I think Eddie Howe it'd be the ideal candidate to replace.
Anyway, is there one more for Newcastle? I think there is, and I think he's the pick of the bunch.
Is there?
Well,
Oh, sorry, yeah, of course, because he's
in green. That's
he's
why.
in green. So, right,
There we
yeah,
go.
Nick Pope.
If anybody didn't
Great
get it, I was on
signing.
about Nick Pope, and I think he's been a great
Yeah.
signing. How much was he? He wasn't
15
He wasn't
million.
very much at all.
He's a
15.
poor
15
man's
million.
Courtois. That's what he is. He's fantastic.
He is. He's done. In the end, Newcastle don't need a player out from the back goalkeeper. They need a shot stopper, and that's what Nick Pope's best at.
He's not bad though with his feet. I think he's all right. I don't think he's terrible.
He's terrible with his feet. He's terrible.
I don't think he's as bad as
If-
people make out.
I think for a modern day goalkeeper, it's
Mendy is worse than Mick.
yeah,
Pope.
but Mendy's been an overrated goalkeeper for a while, in my opinion, and I think it shows now that Kepa's the number one. But yeah, I agree. Great signing. I think if we're gonna go off shot stoppers, he's England's best. Even as an Everton fan, I think as shot stoppers, don't get me wrong, I think Pickford's got better reflexes, and I think Pickford, for a smaller man, gets to his position better. But if you want a reliable shot stopper who's going to save goals, Pope's the best we've got. I still think I don't know, is he second or third choice for the finger? To be honest,
I think he's perfect keeper for Newcastle then.
exactly, you're right. Perfect keeper for Newcastle, does exactly what Newcastle need, and a well-deserved move. Something he probably should have gotten a few years ago, but he got it to a club that could finish in Europe this season, and he's been a big contributor in that. I think he's still more saves in the Premier League, because I think it's him, Pickford 1-2, and I definitely don't think Pickford's got more saves in the league. So I'm going to say Nick Pope's got the more saves in the Premier League, and for a team like Newcastle, he's got the more. Usually, you see someone like the classic is Ben Foster, a goalkeeper that was down there,
listen,
would make a lot of saves.
I remember
was a
Jack Baldwin got it quite a lot.
was a good goalkeeper, but not that top level. Nick Pope, I think he's a level above that, and I think he's getting the move he deserves. Most saves in the Premier League shows for a team that's fourth in the league shows that he's helping win games for Newcastle, and a goalkeeper who can win you games it's quite hard to find nowadays. You've got people like, you see as soon as an English goalkeeper does it, my easiest thought is Dean Henderson, and his performance against Liverpool instantly gets overrated, and I think we'll get to that team later, but I really think Nick Pope is a great signing. I think it's one that, like I said, Newcastle haven't done a bad bit of business this summer in my opinion. I don't think Isaac's worth that much money, but it's still a good signing in the sense of this could be the statement you need. But it's time for Toby to basically take the reins here because we're talking about Chelsea. Toby, let's start
as well
with the first player because we're going in alphabetical order of the players. Start with Aubameyang. What are your thoughts?
It's a tricky one, really. I'd probably say, I don't know, good signing. I think if there was a space between good signing and meh, he would go in there. But I'll just put him in good signing, to be fair. I think he's been good. Obviously, he's scored quite a few goals since he's come in. We needed a striker, another striker in there, obviously with Lukaku going back out of the club. So, yeah, I think recency biased. Their game against Man United, I'm probably slating him too much, but there was a couple of chances in that game that he should have scored. But I think under Potter, I think he's been good. The way we've got the ball to him, under Potter compared to with Tuchel, obviously he didn't play any games under Tuchel, a lot of games, but the way Potter's sort of system works, getting that ball into the striker a bit quicker than under Tuchel, he's been good. Obviously he's not there for the long term, but he's been alright.
Yeah, he's definitely there for the short term. And what did he cost you? Pennies?
Was it 15 million? I got a weird feeling.
I feel like it was 15
pocket
million.
change.
I feel like it was 15 million euros. So about 12 million pounds.
Yeah.
And what I think I just saw he's got a goal in the Premier League in 3 appearances and 3 starts, and 2 goals and an assist in the Champions League in 4 appearances. So he's scoring in the competition that Chelsea seem to do best in, and he's the striker they needed. Don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of Timo Werner, and I think Timo Werner got a bit too much stick for what he did, but in the end, Chelsea needed that out-and-out striker, that goal scorer. And in the end, I think, we'll get to another player Chelsea signed for that. But Chelsea have signed 2 really good goal scorers this season, and I think that's really going to help if they do want to be in that position in a year or two's time where they are contending for the Premier League. But next, Marc Cucurella, around, £60 million or something?
Yeah, I'd probably put him in will get better, I think. Obviously, he hasn't been terrible. But, yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one, really. Obviously, Chilwell's come back in left wing back, and he's played left centre back as well, with Fofana then getting injured, which is not bad. It's just, I don't know, it's obviously saying about the money. Obviously we have the money to spend on players like that, but was he really worth it? We probably could have got someone a bit cheap, a bit, like I said, going in that category. He's only going to get better. He is a really good player. I think I don't know who he made his debut against, but I remember that game.
Us wasn't. Yeah.
Who did we play opening?
He came on. He came off the bench against us. I'm pretty sure.
Well,
yeah,
I remember
it was
on his debut. He came on and he looked electric. The way he was just passing it so quick and stuff, and receiving the ball, getting in the positions. He is a good player, and yeah, he'll only get better.
I think it's one of those ways interesting as well because he's up there for probably one of the most versatile players in the league. You don't find many players who can play centre back in a back three, left wing back, left midfield, left wing. All that. It's weird because he started his career as a winger and has just in his career dropped further and further back on the pitch to the point now where I think last game he played centre back. He played left centre back for Chelsea. So
yeah.
He's a player where don't get me wrong, he's still only like 24 and 60 million is a lot of money, but for a team like Brighton who are experts in getting the money's worth, you have to pay that much for a player from that club, unfortunately. And I think he's really to that level where he's going to be fantastic in the Champions League. He's going to be consistently playing, and when someone like Azpilicueta steps down, it feels like you've already signed that player who's going to mould as the replacement for Azpilicueta. Already that short, technically gifted centre-back who can play all around the back, can play in midfield.
That's a good point, to be fair. That is a very good point.
We move into Wesley Fofana, another player, big money, 70 million. What's been your thoughts on him, Toby?
I'd say he'll only get better. Obviously, he's got injured again. Yeah, he obviously didn't hardly played last season, and then getting injured against AC Milan, he scored a goal, didn't he, in one of them games. He's been good. But yeah, just see him get injured again. It's annoying, isn't it? Just when he was just about to get up and running, get another injury. It's not good. It's not good at all.
Yeah, I think we know how good Wesley Fofana can be. 2 seasons ago was the example. I think we're going to probably see that again in a much more tactically versatile Chelsea team, a Chelsea team that now another team that has a ridiculous amount of centre backs that are high quality centre backs.
We needed them though. We did need
and
the
then
centre-backs.
I'd say the Antonio Rudiger replacement, Kalidou Koulibaly. This move was probably like 3-4 years too late.
Yeah.
But what have you thought about him so far?
I'll probably put him in meh. I would say probably meh. He's been good. I think
he was really, really good against us in his debut. He was fantastic against us.
The opening 2 games and against Spurs as well, that where he scored. So I remember a lot of people on Twitter saying he's better than Rudiger. He's just what we needed and all this. And don't get me wrong, Rudiger was really good under Thomas Tuchel in the last couple of seasons, but I think people like to obviously overreact, and I think he was really good, but he wasn't like world class, was he? I don't know. It's tricky. It is tricky, but I'd say, like you said, it's a few years too late. But he's done a job, and I think putting him in May, he's going to do a job. I think he was pretty poor in that 4-0 loss to Leeds, if I remember rightly. I think he gave away a goal in the Champions League as well. But yeah, we needed bodies in the door who could play centre back, and he's one of them. And I think it will do well for us this season. He won't be any worse.
And the final Chelsea signing on this list, probably the one that made Chelsea fans most excited, I'd say. Raheem Sterling, for what? He wasn't that much, 40-50 million.
Yeah, 40.
The fact that you paid, what, a third of the price on Mark Cucurella, like 2/3 of it, and got Raheem Sterling. Where would you say, Tola?
I'd say good signing, I think. Yeah, it's been a weird one. I think when he started under Thomas Tuchel, when he was still in charge, he was our only good attacker, and I think still now he's our best attacker. Like, you can see the quality, the positions he's getting. I think I'm just slightly worried about what is his actual role in the Chelsea team now. Obviously under Graham Potter, he likes to change his systems about, but what is his role? I'm just a bit. Last few weeks, I'm a bit sort of sceptical about what's his future and how he's going to be played. I don't want him to just sort of, fall into the shadows and
just waste away a bit.
Yeah, because I really like him. He's a fucking great player.
I think we're going to see the best out of Sterling after a World Cup. He always gets his best for England, and this may be a thing where an example where this Winter World Cup may help a team like Chelsea, where Sterling, if he can keep fit, does fantastic for England, which he always does. Comes back on fire form. England, maybe, I don't think we're going to do particularly well. Maybe he carries us through to another semi-final. Comes through to Chelsea, ready to go, raring, and then that might be an example where a World Cup helps a player. Because
but I feel like with the Sterling situation, it's not his attitude that's the issue. If it was a player's confidence or his attitude that was the issue, a good World Cup would be a good solution. But I think it is what Toby said. It's a matter of systems. Sterling fits in round peg, round hole into Gareth Southgate's England system. He sort of doesn't centre the team around him, but he's one of the first names on the team sheet. Whereas with Potter, it's a bit more.
Yeah, first, don't get me wrong. I think he's going to be good this season. He's not going to be terrible like our other attackers. So he stands out as like his quality on the ball. He's just second to none in his passing. It's just I don't want him to not perform to the level that I know he can get to. If you know what I mean.
I think it's one of those where unfortunately for a player like for example, Graham Potter, the example I always use at Brighton is Trossard, a player who's in and out a bit, and then in those last few years, at the start of last year especially, stamped himself as, no, I'm your best player, you're going to play me every game.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Graham Potter did, Trossard became undeniable, and in my opinion, like I said, Trossard has no right to be playing for a team like Brighton. That's something for another day. But, yeah, I think a good World Cup run could really put Sterling in that level for Potter where it's right, you have no choice to play me now. But now we move to Man United and I think, there's no more Chelsea ones. Yeah, we move over to Man United and their first signing in alphabetical order, their last signing, I believe, in signing order. Casemiro.
Hold on. Nice link.
I think Casemiro's going to end up in great signing, but now I'm going to put him in good. Got that goal against you, got man of the match against Everton in his debut. Is that real defensive midfielder that Man United need? Don't know why they were playing McTominay over him for so long.
Nah, he's no Scott McSauce, mate.
He's not the worst defensive midfielder in the league, but he's a level above. He's one of the best defensive midfielders of our generation. There's a case that he's the best. He's done, for our generation of 2010s onwards of that Real Madrid dominance, realistically, who's done and who's won what he's done. He gives Man United that same opportunity that he gave at Real Madrid for Modric and Kroos to be more creative, for a player we'll get onto next. Well, not next. Soon. A Danish midfielder we'll get onto soon to be at his creative best, and he's that shield in front of the defence. He's shown he can score goals. That header was one of the best headers I've seen in a while. Fantastic to score that header, you know.
Thoughts, Toby?
Well, on the header?
Yeah.
Well, I think Kepa was very close. If Kepa made that save, that would have been
one of the saves of the season, yeah.
But yeah, it just really annoyed me, his celebration afterwards. 1-1, you know what I mean? Like banging his chest, screaming at the crowd like it's 1-1, mate. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, that draw did us more than it did for them anyway. So
I think it's one of those things, though, isn't it, where he's got that attitude.
Shows he's passionate.
Yeah.
He's got that attitude from Real Madrid that a team like Man United have been desperate for, because they've had just a changing room full of plebs for years, and that's the nicest way I can put. It's the nicest way I can put it. Like, I'm not insulting any of the footballing ability, but to go a bit Roy Keane, you know, they've not had anyone, and I'm including Ronaldo in that with that character, because
I agree.
Ronaldo doesn't have. He's proven it last game against Tottenham. He doesn't really have the character we thought he did. He walked in, got in his car, and went home because he didn't get what he wanted.
The thing that worried me about when they brought him in is that the profile of central midfielders or defensive midfielders that Man United were chasing, obviously with De Jong, and then suddenly going to Casemiro, that was a bit strange, wasn't it? Like, their recruitment plan obviously wasn't there.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's proven that he's going to be good, isn't he?
They wanted that young stalwart in defence who could be there in a similar role to someone, for example, like, not ability-wise, but Michael Carrick, where they were just there for so long, and that you couldn't even though he wasn't a massively good player, like, Carrick's achievements outweighs talent, if that makes sense, but he was Mr. Consistent. That's what realistically what they wanted, and Casemiro is obviously a step above that. Casemiro's, you know, the best of the best in his position, but he's old. It was a lot of money, but so far he's looking like he was worth it. And speaking to someone who cost a lot of money and is looking like they're worth it, Anthony, I want to put him here. I really want to put him in great signing. I do, because I can see it, but I'm going to put him in good for now.
Yeah.
You can see all the talent. You can see that he's going to be one of the best wingers in the world if given that. He's shown it in he's got a fantastic finish on him. He's got that finish on him, that curving shot, bottom corner. He's got it locked in. And I think he's one of those where he got memed a bit for the spin, and he did it against Chelsea, and everyone got excited. There's the spin. But I think he's shown his dribbling abilities there, because I'm pretty sure, did he not do the spin and then beat one of your players on the dribble immediately afterwards while doing it? So it's one of those things where he's got everything. He's what they wanted Jadon Sancho to be last season. And I'm not saying Sancho's bad, and that I think Sancho's going to get better, but that's the impact they expected from Jadon Sancho.
He's adapted so much better to the league than Sancho
and
has.
It looks like he has. I'll give it to him. The players they've signed look like they have really good attitudes, and this is in my opinion going to be the best Man United team we've seen since Fergie. It's gone.
Yeah.
As in, for how they may finish fourth, but I don't care that Mourinho's team finished second. This team will be better. I think Ten Hag has now proven he's good enough for the job. He's getting good results. He's getting, being the only team to beat Arsenal this season, and that's shown to be no fluke. He's beaten big teams, gotten big results against others. He's showing now that he's at that level, and the signings he've made are at that level. And Christian Eriksen, I'm putting him in great signing. I think a lot of people got confused at first that he was playing this deeper role, and I think that is just because Man United's midfielders are crap. That he just went, well, Christian.
That wasn't fair on him, really, playing in that game, in that Brentford game.
He's been fantastic for Man United ever since then. One of the best players on the pitch consistently whenever he plays, and he costs nothing. He's a perfect system fit for that creative midfielder. He's their Dusan Tadic, and people will go, well, you're comparing Eriksen to Dusan Tadic, really? You look at what he's done for Ajax, and then you compare it. He's that player for them, that creative outlet who can, switch the ball from midfield to attack seamlessly. For a guy who had a literal heart attack on the pitch to then come and go, well, I ain't dropped a step, from Brentford to United, it's a nice story, and that may play a part why I've put him in there, but, maybe if they'd have paid 40 million for him, I'd have been like, okay, good signing. But the fact that it was a free, and he's still that good, puts it up in a great signing for me.
Yeah, he's one of them. He's hard not to like, isn't he? Which is tough when you're looking at a United player, but as you've covered all the bases there, Callum. He fits the system perfectly. He's certainly benefited from the Casemiro signing, because that'll free him up to sort of be a bit more creative, because he knows there's that line of defence behind him. So yeah, I think he'll turn out to be really good.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, and I think Some people may go, it wasn't go really great signing, maybe good, but I think you've got to take everything to an account with him. And I think, when United get to their best, and don't get me wrong, we'll look at this at the end when we're done, and Eriksen may drop down a tier, but I think, just going off first instincts when I look, Eriksen does go there, and we go to the next signing, Malacia. I'll put him in good. I think fantastic.
I would say we'll get better, I think.
Do you think? I thought fantastic against Liverpool. I think it's hard, because I think, once again, 12 million I think he cost. And I do think Shaw's played a little bit more, so I do think you might be... Yeah, go on.
We'll go. He's younger as well.
We'll get better for the sole purpose of that.
Yeah, he wasn't signed for the short term, was he? He was signed he was a long-term signing.
He, watching a player back pocket Salah after last season, don't get me wrong, it was early in the season, so it's hard to really get a judge on it. But I think that performance is one of the better performances I've seen from a Man United player in a while. He had no problem. He's got that speed. He looks like he's got that attacking ability. And yeah, I think you're right. I think, like I said, I think this is weird because I think, another player who I want to put him in great. I really want to put Martinez in great.
I'd put him in great.
Yeah, good. Someone agrees with me. I think he's been one of the better centre-backs in the Premier League this season.
Yeah, I agree.
For someone who's 5'9", the same height as me, to be going into the Premier League and he's got no problem with dealing with these bigger players. He's got the bite, he's got the tenacity. He showed against Chelsea with the Jorginho incident, where he just... What did he do? He crunched him, just got up and walked away with no reaction, and it was just like, yeah.
He's another one of them where, well, I wouldn't say he's a shithouse necessarily, but he's one of them. If he's not on your team, you hate him, but if he's on your own team, then he's fucking fantastic. So yeah, I would say great signing. He's been brilliant.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be many that disagree with you there either. I don't think that's that controversial in opinion. This is not a moment that will precede an unfortunate event.
No, I can't see it. And as well, don't be surprised if now that when we're out of the top six and not doing the top six teams, the reactions are now going to be... We haven't watched these teams coming up as much, so the top six teams... Right, so next is Fulham. Polina, I haven't seen much of him, but has looked good when he played. Good defensive midfielder. Yeah. I think players like Reed have took the priority because he's been scoring a lot of goals recently. But Polina's been a good signing.
It's one of those positions where it's not about goals, though. It's about being commanding, sorting that midfield.
He was one of those when you looked at him and went, really? Fulham? Fulham have signed him?
You think his level is above Fulham.
Yeah. I think his level is like a Europa
I love seeing a player like that who's better than the club they're at, that they've just signed for, and they just transform him.
Goes one or two ways, though, because obviously Fulham tried it last time with John McAlseri.
Yeah, exactly.
And that went south very quickly.
Can we put... I know he's not on the tier list, but Willian as well. That's a clear meh. I know he scored, but... He's not going to be there for a long time. He's good, though. He has been good over for Fulham, but he's definitely a meh.
He's one of those... He's a technical player, but it's not quite as he is it? He's a bit beyond his time.
And went to Liverpool.
Yep, and I think they both will get better.
Who's that?
Nunez and Carvalho. Here's the thing is with Nunez, is I'm not going to dog Nunez because Nunez has improved since the first few games, and he's now starting to get the hang of things. He's scoring goals, he's contributing, but £80 million.
I would argue put him in good signing.
I don't think I can put someone with that start and with that.
No, he's been good.
I think he's been. I'm more inclined to agree with Toby here.
He's chaos.
I think if you're playing against him as an opposing centre back, I think you're shitting yourself.
He's good. He is.
Look how quick he is. He registered speeds last week quicker than Kyle Walker's quickest.
Okay, yeah. Do you know what? Okay, I can see it.
He's getting memed,
and he's strong.
I think my thing is, I've like you said, seen the talent and see him. Realistically, see him. He has the talent to be here.
Well, people only think he's shit because he's not scored many goals so far, and that bloke sings songs about him on TikTok.
That's probably that bloke's probably had a big impact on him.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think he's got all the signs of a good player. I think he just had. I think the only problem for him is he was putting that Jesus, Haaland, those strikers category, and they all came out flying. He headbutted a geezer, and then he had stinkers. He was terrible against us. It's one of the worst striker performances I've seen in a month.
Give him time though, and people will be.
That's it. He's going to be one of those where I don't think we'll see the best of him under Klopp. I've just got a feeling that the way Klopp's going, it's going to be an unceremonious ending at Liverpool. I don't think he's going to get there. And the next manager's not going to be Gerrard now because he's crap.
You never know.
So it's quite interesting to see where Nunez's career progresses. But I do think you're right. I think Nunez is going to be one of those ones where give him this season, and then it'll be next season where I think he really explodes. And Fabio Carvalho's got all the tools. He's played a lot more than a lot of people expected at Newcastle, at Liverpool, in my opinion, since moving. He's similar to the Harvey Elliott thing where he's getting eased into the team. He's got the talent. where Liverpool have just nicked one of.
Yeah, he was never going to hit the ground running straight away.
But yeah, I think he's been good when he's playing, and I think he's at that level where he can be a top midfielder in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
got-
can we
he's
go back?
talent
Can we
for
go
his
back to Nunes 1 second? We were on about it. I can't remember who we were on about it about, but the thing about a World Cup, he needs a World Cup.
Are Uruguay in the World Cup?
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
Mm.
Yeah, they are.
If Nunes has a good World Cup, that he'll
He will.
steamroll the
He
league
will
afterwards.
have a good World
If he
Cup,
scores a
I'm
few
telling
goals
you.
at the World Cup, that'll give him all the confidence he needs to go and
Yeah.
perform for Liverpool.
Saying that though, he might not start at
And we'll see
number
a big
9.
change.
I think he'll start on the wing because Cavani's had a really good start at Valencia
Yeah.
apparently. So I could think
4 and 5.
I don't. Yeah, I
5 and
don't
4.
know if he's retired from international football. I don't think he has. I've not seen anything about it. So
I think we got our first Nias, by the way,
our first Nias
Wow.
for
yes,
Liverpool.
For Liverpool.
Yeah, 5 in at the top row.
Ah, yes,
Forgotten man.
Arta.
Oh,
But-
God, Jesus, yeah.
Right, I will never have anyone insult Umar Nias on this podcast like that. No, Arta's one of those where everyone knew he's not as good as his name suggested. He's
He
not
was
as good as his transfer fees
Deadline day
suggested.
panic buy, wasn't it?
Deadline day, rotational midfielder option. They already had a better midfielder in the club than Harvey Elliott, and I can't stand Harvey Elliott. Not as a player. He's one of the only footballers that I dislike.
Oh, no, he's an awful bloke, isn't he?
But fantastic footballer. They didn't need to sign the guy. Outright did not need to sign Arta. No offence to the lad, but he's crap.
Mm.
He's not as
Well, he was a weird one, wasn't he? Where he was involved
The
in that
Pjanic one,
Pjanic thing, wasn't
where
it?
they both paid 60 million for it and
That
swapped.
was just money laundering.
Yeah, of course it was.
Oh, it was, and the irony is both signings were dreadful. Both signings are two of the worst signings those clubs have ever made.
Yeah.
So it's one of those. We move on now to Brighton. I don't think there's many for Brighton. I think it's just Purvis Estupinan. And I think he's been involved in basically every game. No, he hasn't, has he? Because Trossard plays like left wing back now.
Mm.
So,
I'd put him in. We'll get better.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know much
Give him a
about
bit of
him.
time.
Cheap. Wasn't it like only 4 million they paid for him?
Somewhat
Something
stupid.
really,
I think
really cheap.
I remember him being quite good for Villarreal when he
Yeah.
got the chance to play. So it's one of those where, to be honest, we don't know much. He's a left back with high potential, but Brighton are playing that system now where they want to get forward as much as possible. Trossard's on the form of his career right now, so there's
And
no
Brighton don't get transfers wrong.
No.
So
Mm.
Exactly.
It's going to be good.
West Ham, Maxwell
gonna be-
Cornet.
He's not played a load, but I think
I'll go meh.
from what I've seen, he's been okay
I
when he
just-
has played.
I
I
don't
don't
think
know.
he's been as good to go and good signing.
Do you
But
know?
I'll go meh because he hasn't made an impact. Has he,
No,
really?
he got that Rob disallowed goal. Was it you against?
I think so.
Yeah, where
Yeah.
He was the poor guy was robbed blind and he should have been given the goal. But he didn't play. Did he play the other night against? No, I don't think he played the other night.
Played last night against Bournemouth.
I think he's injured. Yeah, he's got a thigh injury right now. But I've got him up here. He's played 5 games, no goals. He's only started 1.
Oof,
He's
yeah.
not Umar Nias
It's
level
meh. It's
because we
meh,
know
yeah,
Max.
but that's very much meh.
Yeah, it's the most May you can get. And then who else did they sign? Tilo Kehrer? Yeah. So we've got Tilo Kehrer again. Like I think he's playing consistently. Yeah. He's playing consistently for West Ham. And 10 starts, 3. But again, meh. West Ham have not been nearly as good this season. West Ham are leaking goals. And I'm not saying he's contributing to it. I haven't watched enough West Ham to say. But I can't put him in good signing with these standards of players when he's not done. I think the Lucas Paqueta, another one,
We'll get better. I
will
think.
get better.
Yeah, we've not seen
Big
enough
money,
of him
wasn't
yet.
it?
Big money and huge performances. Everyone thought he was going to go join Guimaraes in Newcastle. But no, again, I feel like he's injured as well. I've got a feeling he is. Yep, shoulder injury, but I think that was only one for a few days. 5 games, got an assist so far. He's been good. He's got that talent on the ball. He's got that ability to move the ball forward. Everything we saw at Lyon, huge money. But I think he's shown every sign. And I think the closest player to good signing we've got is Scamacca.
I'd say good signing.
I like Scamacca a
like
lot.
him.
I think, he's one of those where he's a big striker. He's a really big guy. But he's got so much more technical ability than everyone thinks. 2 goals so far in only 6 starts. Not a bad return. And I think, I think he's the closest, but he goes meta. Because I think he's the closest case they've got to good side. It maybe Kehra's the closest, but I think he's meta.
No, I'd put Scamacca in good sign. I think it took him a
as
few
well.
weeks to get going, but once he sort of got his first goal, the floodgates opened a little
'cause
bit. He's been really good in the Conference League as well.
Yeah, but this is Premier League signings. I can't give him thingy off Conference League.
Moyes preferred Antonio, didn't he? And
Yeah,
he's starting to
but I
put
think that's the
Scamacca
thing.
now and-
Yeah, I think Scamacca's getting eased in. So right now, I
that
think
chip he scored. Who was it against when he scored his 2 goals? He scored a chip and it was
who
unbelievable.
did he score? Yeah, I don't remember who he scored
Was it
them against.
Fulham? I got a weird feeling it's Fulham, but
Uh, Fulham 3-1 against Fulham. Scamacca did score against Fulham, and he was man of the match. So I'm guessing that is him.
That chip was unreal.
Yeah,
I
and
just stood there and watched it.
he's a really good player. He's shown it at Sassuolo. He really stood out as that striker who can impact games. And a lot of people thought it was going to be Berardi, Raspadori, players like that who stood out. He was the one who ended up breaking out, and really proving that he's got that ability. But next we've got Brentford. Brentford have signed, I believe, Aaron Hickey and Keane Lewis-Potter. Aaron Hickey I'll put in.
Good.
I think Aaron Hickey's been a great.
And I think Keane
really
Lewis-Potter's will get better.
Yeah, he's hardly.
He's not.
Aaron Hickey's stepped into that role that Rico Henry played, left wing back, I believe.
Yeah.
And Brentford haven't been that good this season, but I think he's shown that he's an impressive player. Both players, I think Keane Lewis-Potter was like 20 million or 15.
I do think they overpaid for him because he was good for Hull. He wasn't incredible.
I think it's
he wasn't
incredible
at all.
We put a few bids in for him.
Yeah.
And then they saw it, and I'm guessing they've heard about the asking price.
You've driven the price up a little bit.
And I'm not going to lie, I'm really glad we didn't sign him.
I don't know. He's certainly not ready for Premier League football yet.
Things get exciting. Oh, wait, we forgot about a Fulham player, by the way. Bern Leno, meh. He's been okay.
No, I think he's been good. I think Leno's been good.
I won't say good. I think he's gotten better over the weeks again, but I think he's just...
I think he's been a really good signing for Fulham.
I think his standard of goalkeeper is a good signing for Fulham, but taking his performances, I think he's been meh. I think, like I said, though, no, do you know what? Fulham are 7th. They haven't got a negative goal difference. They're really impressive. I think, Leno deserves a good signing. I think you're right. Moving on now to Everton, and
we'll let you take the reins on this one.
I want to put Amadou Onana in great, but I'm going to be sensible and put him in good.
What makes you want to say great?
Because he's one of those where he's come in, and every Everton fan was like, he's not going to play. He's gonna get eased into
21.
He's gonna get eased into the team. We paid big money for him. Let's not overreact like we do with every midfielder we sign. Came straight in, was unbelievable his first game. Again, unbelievable. He's one of those where I think Alex Iwobi's performances are outshining him. But if you're starting next to Kevin De Bruyne for Belgium, you're clearly doing something right. If Belgium trust him enough at 19, 20, you're going to be our starting central midfielder for the World Cup. I think it's one of those where I'm not going to put him in great because great's a different tier. And there is an Everton player who's going to go in there. But, right now, Onana good, potential great at the end of the season.
Yeah,
depending how Everton do for the rest of the season, where we finish. I think he's been one of our better players.
Not even the rest of the season. He'll be there for the long term as well. You
Yeah.
mentioned how young he is. He's only going to improve.
Connor Cody, it is a loan, and we haven't included many loans on here, but it's a $4 million option to buy. It looks like we're going to make it a permanent deal in January. Again, I think he's good, borderline great.
I completely agree.
Good. I don't want to put him in great because it's top tiers, and I'm going to put. Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm putting him in great because I'm going to put Tarkowski in great as well because my only logic is we've gone from a terrible defence to one of the best in the league, and that's completely down to them two.
I think with Cody as well. I think Wolves are sort of doing what Stoke did a few years ago, and when they went down, and they're losing the big characters in the dressing room.
I love Connor Cody. For someone who is a devout Liverpool fan, admitted to it, to come into the rivals club with professionalism, look at the way he celebrated when he scored against Liverpool. Like, Liverpool fans got wound up by that, but that's professionalism at its finest.
Yeah.
He's professional. He's an amazing captain, amazing leader. I can now understand having him at my team. I used to never get why he was in the England squad. I used to say Connor Cody's in the England squad for vibes. I completely understand why he's in the England squad for vibes now. He's amazing. Every piece of Everton media that he does, he's funny. He's an engaging character, and he's a fantastic centre-back when he plays. The thing is, that could change. This is halfway through the season. We could have a stinker of a second half, and I could be saying Connor Cody stinks. But going off everything right now, he's had them two have had just as much of an impact as everyone else in that great signing list, and I think that's fair. Just a gay, nah. He's come in, he's done his job. He hasn't been fantastic.
Been brought back for vibes.
He's been brought back because he can tackle the ball very well. He's got good defensive awareness. He's there to be the rock in front of. Yeah, he's there to be the anchor, and he's done that quite well. Dwight McNeil. I'm gonna put him in good, but no, I'm not. I'm not gonna
say that.
I'm gonna put him in there. He has been good recently. He's really picked up to the Dwight McNeil everyone thought he was at Burnley a few years ago. Recently, like I said, the goal against Crystal Palace was fantastic. He scored again in the game before Newcastle. I think he's getting there, and I think he's finding his end product. But I can't put him in the same tier as these good signings. I can't put it. But I do think he's one of those where I'm tempted to put him in. Will get better. but I think I'm not sure on that, so I'm going to put him in meh. But I think I think a lot of these players in meh will move. To be honest, by the end of the season,
No, of course we will.
I think Arter will be the only Arter, Jesus, and a few other players will be the only players that keep their position at the end of the season. And so now we move on to Crystal Palace, who signed, I think it was just Checktocore, and I've heard a lot of good things about him. I'm not an avid Palace watcher, but I've heard a lot of good things about him. But I also don't know enough to say if he's a good signing or not. I don't know if you lot are any more diverse in Mr. Checktocore than me. I know he's injured right now. That's one thing I do know, that he's currently injured. So, but I think apparently he's been really good from what I've seen. He's been a really solid midfielder. Hasn't done the same things Conor Gallagher has done, but I think that's been given to someone like Elise to get forward and do
he's
that.
a lot more defensive.
I'll put him in good signing. In the end, he's come in for, I don't think it was massive money, and done a good job at what he was supposed to do. Like I said, I can't knock anyone. Like I said, we've got players like Hickey in here, then I think Decore has to go in here. He's done what he was brought in to do very well. So I think there's no reason why he shouldn't be in that tier. We move on to Bournemouth. I think the only one we put on here was Senesi, because we didn't want to be here all day going through every signing. Tavernier has been decent. I'm trying to think of who else to sign. No, we've got Neto. Good signing.
Yeah,
Neto's arguably up there. Neto is arguably borderline great, because as soon as he come in, Bournemouth have only just lost their first game, haven't they? Against West Ham. Oh no, they lost to Southampton as well. But before then,
they got battered by Liverpool.
After Liverpool, 1, 2,
Only 'cause they did the
3,
9.
4, 5, 6 games unbeaten. And Neto after that game has. Don't get me wrong, he only kept 2 clean sheets, but he's been fantastic. He's a veteran presence, something they've needed. And don't get me wrong, I don't think Travers was a bad goalkeeper, by the way. I think
he's a step up though, isn't he?
He's a step up from Travers, and I think Travers will be a good Premier League goalkeeper. And I hope it's not one of those where an Angus Gunn situation, because I think he's a lot better than Angus Gunn ever was when Southampton conceded 9. I think Travers got let down by his team.
God, Angus Gunn was dreadful for us.
Exactly, and I don't think Travers is nearly that bad. I think Travers is good enough to play in the Premier League, and I think unfortunately they played an angry Liverpool side. The defence which wasn't ready that night. And saying that, one of the defenders, Marcos Senesi, I don't know. Like I said, he's not a player who stands out.
It's quite a big signing for Bournemouth.
Yeah,
bit of a weird one.
He was really good for Feyenoord. He was meant to be extremely good for Feyenoord, but I don't know if he got injured or not, or he ended up just getting benched. I've got a feeling he just got benched. He's played 8 games and he's been average, so I think he's fair.
Yeah, he'll be good.
I think it's one way he might improve over time. Don't get me wrong, but
maybe will get better. But I can support meh.
Right now he's just meh. Next is Aston Villa. Meh. Everything about Aston Villa this season has been meh. No offense to Kamara, they haven't done anything. Kamara hasn't made any impact in the team. That's gotten worse from last season.
Do you think now that they've got Emery, he will get better?
Yes, 100%. There's a reason for teams like Man United and stuff wanted him. He's clearly a talent. Villa, there's no Diego Carlos injury. Will get better. Coutinho was technically there already, so we didn't. And I believe that's all the signings they made. They signed everyone early, and then Dendonker's not. Dendonker's one where I'm going to put him will get better. Dendonker was very good against Brentford. Dendonker, I think, is now going to be a more prominent feature under Emery. He likes his players like Francis Coquelin.
Yeah,
and Bednarek as well. Has he even played?
Bednarek. I think he scored. Bednarek's another one way. Bednarek's a mess. Centre-back.
Yeah, screams meh, doesn't
it? Yeah, so quickly go over them. Next is Southampton. So I believe it is Joe Aribo, Gavin Bazunu,
Bella Kotchap,
Khaled Takar, Sekumara, and then there's Edozie, is it? Samuel Edozie and Romeo Lavia?
Is Lavia
No, it's not Edozie, it's the other winger. Or is it Edozie? I know Romeo Lavia, good signing, but he got injured. Romeo Lavia looks fantastic for an 18-year-old to get him for 12 million.
Chelsea wanted him on deadline day as well.
Yeah. Anyway, I like Bazunu. I think Bazunu is a good signing.
I think Bazunu is a very good signing.
I think he will be really good.
I'm going to put Bella Kotchap.
I'd put those two in good.
Go. I think Aribo.
I think.
Meh. I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to put Aribo and will get better, because I think Aribo,
he'll only get better.
He's got every tool to be a really good Premier League player.
I can support that.
Sekumara, another player I agree with. Kaletakar, another player I think should be in there. Kaletakar hasn't played much, and I think Kaletakar showed at Marseille. He's got Champions League experience. He's he's good.
They'll get better. They just need a bit of time.
Sekumara's young, but when I've seen him, and I think when I watched Everton play, he looked like he had that real explosiveness that could turn him into a real good player. And it's Aribo. he showed for Rangers. The geezer he's a central midfielder, got put up front and scored goals for them.
Did he score in the Europa League final?
He scored quite a few goals in the Europa League final. And then, we move. I do think Leicester are next in the table, and they didn't sign anyone until deadline. They're Wout Faes, I think.
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
I
think he's great.
I'm going to put him in good because Leicester are still being absolute craps.
Yeah.
They've been dog wank still since signing him. So.
He's solid. When I've watched him play, he is solid. He's the best. He's been, after James Maddison, he's been Leicester's best player. From my opinion. Yeah.
Is it one of the things where we put him in good signing, or do we put him in will get better, as in he'll look better when the team gets better? And they're starting to look like they're starting to finally get the
I'd say
wheel.
we'll get better because
you can't really pass your judgment.
Next
Leicester
is Leeds, which really surprised me that Leeds are in 18th. I thought they were a lot higher in the table.
Well, they started off quite well, didn't they? But they've tailed off a bit recently.
Yeah, like the relegation zone this season's weird. It's, to be honest with you, there's only there's two teams I expected to be down there, which is Wolves, Forest.
You expected Wolves to be down there?
Yeah, because I just had a feeling. It's just one of those where they didn't score goals last season and they got carried by the defence of the team. And then we signed Conor Cody, and I think I kind of, as a look at how good Conor Cody is, I went, Wolves are gonna go down. Watch this. And you know what?
That's what happened to us.
Deep down in my head, I didn't actually think it, but now that I've said it and I've got it said to people, and now it's happening, I'm going to stick to it. Because I didn't actually realise how good I knew Conor Cody was good, but I didn't realise he was to this level where he can just change a team like that. And to be fair, when we get to Wolves, the centre-back who they replaced him with, I think is very good. And we'll see when we get
back to Leeds, I think they've recruited quite well.
Tyler Adams will get better. Gives away the ball a bit too much, but he's got everything to be
Mark Rocker as
good.
well. I think Rocker's been good.
Matt Rocker. I can't believe I didn't put Rocker there. That's bad from me. Rocker's good. Rocker looks like very tidy on the ball, wins the ball a lot. He's got that ability, once again, I've said about players like Ericsson, not to that level, transition midfield to attack. Sinisterra, I'm going to put in good because I think he gets let down by the players around him a lot. I was watching against Leicester, and the amount of times that poor fella got into an amazing position, all by himself, dribbled the ball up, came back and defended. He looks like a much better player than any of the wingers Leeds have got currently. A lot better than any of the players Leeds have got currently.
He was a good Rafinha replacement.
I think he can be just as good as someone like Rafinha, to be honest with you. I don't think Rafinha's shown that. Hasn't been very good at Barcelona, to be honest with you.
Yeah, fans ain't.
And then Brendan Aronson, I want to put him good, but I'm going to put him in will get better. I think as well, because Brendan's been one of those where he's not got that end product there yet. He hasn't got that goal scoring touch, that assisting touch, but he's got. It's similar to almost to a sense of. I'm trying to think of a player like one of those young players who they don't have that end product because they haven't played enough of that top level football yet, but they've got the nice touch, they've got the nice little layoffs, they've got everything about them to be a good player. And I know he got memed a lot because he's American. The poor lad he got drilled because he was American, but I think he's a fantastic player, good signing for all Leeds, and I think he's going to be. Once again, I think if Leeds don't go down this season, I think Leeds could be a real problem in a few years because they've got young, developing players who are only just getting better.
They've got an interesting squad, haven't they?
They do, and I even think Bamford. I think eventually, I think Bamford should get dropped for Gelhardt now. To be honest, give Gelhardt that Premier League experience he needs because I think that there's a striker in there, a real good striker in there.
Bamford's just awful.
Bamford is genuine.
He's woeful.
But I think everyone said this, didn't they? Everyone who actually watched Leeds went, yeah. As soon as those chances start getting all down a bit, Bamford's not going to score nearly as many.
Yeah, Bamford was only good in the Championship because they were dominant.
He was good in that first season of the Premier League
too. The lockdown season, he
scored
was
17, but there was no fans there, and the fella's clearly impacted by what the fans say to him. He always has been. And look at when Middlesbrough, when the fans were behind him, and the fans were, we love Patrick Bamford. Same with Leeds, best season of his career. Yeah. As soon as he gets a bit of stick, Burnley, I think there's a few other examples. Leeds now, the fella drops off, and that's no offence to him, but I think he's a confidence player. Patrick Bamford is the biggest example we've got of a confidence player, which is why it's good he never really got those England caps that people wanted him to get, because he'd have been terrible for England. Because as soon as England fans see a player dropping a stinker, it's like the same thing that people used to say. Ben Foster said on his podcast about Everton fans that they really get on the players and it's hard to play there because of that. I think England fans are the same. I think you rarely get any chances. And we move to Wolves next. Do you know what, Lewis? I'm going to make you speak about this player. Former Stoke man, Nathan Collins.
Well, yeah, I was sad to see Collins go from Stoke. I do think he deserved his move to Burnley. I do think he deserved his move to Wolves. I can't say I've seen a lot of him at Wolves. Has he been good?
I think he's been quite good.
He karate kicked Jack Grealish, didn't he? But I don't think that was deliberate at all. I don't think that's in his character. I think he was genuinely just going for the ball.
Yeah.
Well, Wolves have conceded 18 goals, which is...
Well, it doesn't help the Wolves haven't been great this season.
But I'm going to put him in will get better.
I would agree. He's very young. There's clearly a footballer in there. He's playing internationally with Ireland.
And I'm not going to...
I certainly saw captain vibes in him when he came through at Stoke.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie. I think it doesn't help that Max Hillman's really overrated, in my opinion. Like, massively overrated.
Well, they've gone to that 4 at the back, haven't they?
Yeah, like, I'm sorry, but the fella's nowhere near as good as people make out.
Yeah.
Like, he's good, don't get me wrong, but he's not on the verge of the England squad good. Or else he wouldn't be 19th in the Premier League conceding.
Not quite Carlin.
Not quite.
Not
for
quite.
God's sake. Right, Guedes. I'm tempted to put Guedes in.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
He's going in Umanias. We need someone in there. £30 million, and the fella's been dropped for Adama Traore. Adama Traore is a terrible footballer. Adama Traore is what you make on pro clubs for a laugh.
Added with a bit of baby oil.
A bit of baby oil. You make him built like Arnold Schwarzenegger for no reason, and you just give him all pace, nothing else.
Bit of strength.
You just got pace and strength, so you're just bouncing people off him. That's it. And then Matheus Nunes, I'm going to put him in will get better.
Yeah,
I agree.
When he's played, he's looked really good, but Wolves just... They can't score goals to score the life.
I don't know if you saw his run against Chelsea.
Yes, I did, where he started basically from the edge of his own box. And
it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where he's going to get better.
For Nottingham Forest, is this the last one?
I think, we've got Nottingham Forest.
By the way, Nottingham Forest fans, you've made too many signings. We weren't putting them all, so we've lumped every single signing you've made into one.
And they're all going into Umar Nias because there is no way you sign that many players and stay in the division.
No, I'm not putting them in They're bottom of the league.
Don't put them in will get better. Don't put them in will get better.
Controversy, Umar Nias, get out. You thought you were staying up. You're gone. See you later, Forest.
Freuler is the only one that looks half decent.
Nico Williams?
No, I like Nico Williams.
Forgot about Nico Williams.
Aurel Mangala looked decent before he got injured as well.
Nah, crap, mate.
And you know what? No, I am also going to disagree.
Yeah, I know about that. But Dennis has been crap.
But my thing
Morgan Gibbs White hasn't been worth the money.
If you sign 22 players and 4 max are decent.
They don't deserve to stay up. No, Lewis O'Brien's good. I like Lewis O'Brien. Harry Toffolo's all right.
But I think they've been signed as... Do you know what? They've been signed as squad players and they've done the job. But right, so what are we giving them 6? We're giving them 6 players who've been decent.
Yeah, it's like a third.
You know what I mean? It's literally a third of them have been good. Or like a third and a half have been good.
Chuck them in on the ass. They don't deserve
What's that?
it.
Like
recruitment strategy's awful.
40% of your signings have been okay. You know what I mean?
You can't sign 22 players and get away with it. You can only have a 23-man fucking squad.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And don't get me wrong. Here's the thing: there's
no way they're all in the match day.
I understand Forest lost a ton of players, so they had to do this. But you needed to sign more Premier League experience, in my opinion. They just went, who's good, got good advanced stats in Europe? You'll do.
It was literally like a kid in a sweet shop.
What's that? Union Berlin have qualified for Europe. We'll take your striker, son. They've lost their striker, and now they're top of the Bundesliga. So clearly that's not affected it. Like, here's the thing: I think Forest will stay up.
I hate Steve Cooper as well.
I think
Steve Cooper's getting way too much praise, but he's a little ratty manager. He is.
I think Forest will stay up because, and not because they're good. Because teams around them are crap.
I disagree. They'll go down and they'll collapse in the Championship.
Here's my thing: if they go down, they're done. If they go down and don't get instantly promoted again,
screwed.
They'll be in the exact same position Derby are now, which would be that's poetic justice at its finest. That if what have we got? What's the Derby called? Is it just their Derby, Forest and thingy? Is it just East Midlands?
Yeah, it's East Midlands Derby.
East Midlands Derby in League One after both. You know what I mean? So it's like it's one of those where. Maybe, you know what, it's a potential will get better. Because in the end, right, they actually haven't... You look at the 22 signings and you go, to fair, none of them are actually bad players. You look at them and they all go, they're actually decent players.
Then you watch them play.
But then half of these lads have probably never met each other before. Morgan Gibbs-White cost £40 million.
Morgan Gibbs-White is a good player, just...
And here's the thing, Morgan Gibbs-White is... He's got really high potential. I do think he does. I think he's shown it at Sheffield United.
He's got a high ceiling, certainly, but he's never really had that.
But I also think he's got a low floor.
Chucking in next to 20 new players.
Like, for example, if you take a player like Phil Foden, even when Foden first came through City's academy, Phil Foden's floor, his minimum was a decent Premier League player. His maximum was world class. Morgan Gibbs
Yeah,
White's
true.
flaw is championship
Yeah, agree.
when he's playing at his worst. And the thing is, it's why I was worried Everton were going to sign him for that much. I like Morgan Gibbs White, and and you know what? The fact of how Iwobi has stepped into the role that Morgan Gibbs White would have been given makes me praise the Lord that we didn't sign Morgan Gibbs White. No offense to the lad.
His girlfriend is unreal, by the way. She's absolute world.
Morgan Gibbs White's girlfriend. Can you please?
He was
If
worth
Toby's missus has made it this far,
Yep, get rid of him. It's time to go. Toby's sleeping on the couch tonight. But that is it, right? So is there anything you look at there that we should change?
I think we've nailed it, mate.
So
I think
now
we've done
I'm going to
pretty
give
well.
you the quickest run through of these tiers as you've ever heard. So in the top category of the Erling Haaland category, we have Haaland. Then we have in great signing Jesus, Pope, Eriksson, Martinez, Cody, Tarkovsky. Yes, they're staying there. They're staying there. Good signing. We've got Akanji, Langley, Richarlison, Botman, Aubameyang, Sterling, Casemiro, Anthony, Palhinha, Neto, Nunes, Hickey, Leno, Onana, Decore, Bazunu, Bella Kotchap, and Sinistera. In May, we've got... Also, I think we have way too many players in good signing.
Nah, they'd be good.
I'm being a rebel here. I don't care what you say. Aaron Hickey's going down to May. Right.
I think Met is the wrong word, to be honest.
Just May is what we mean by okay.
It's bang average.
They've not been amazing. They've not been bad. They're
6
just
out of 10.
Do you know what?
Meh.
Yeah, do you
6
know
out
what?
of 10.
What is it? It's 3.6 out of 5. That's it. That's it.
Not great, not terrible.
3.6 out of 5. Not great, not terrible. That's that tier. So we've got Basuma, Perisic, Koulibaly, Cornet, Kera, Skamaka, Adrissa Gay, Dwight McNeil, Senese, Kamara, Hickey. Then in the famous Umar Nias tier, which means just leave the club now. You're wasting our time. Or in the case of Nottingham Forest, leave the Premier League now. We don't care that you won the European Cup in the 80s. We don't. It's time to. I think one of them was in the 70s. It's like 79. We don't care. No one cares. See you later. Even though part of me wants Forest to stay up because they're historic.
Absolutely not.
You don't like them because
I
you don't like
can't
Steve
stand him.
Cooper.
I can't stand him.
I would like Forest to stay up because of the history. It's nice. It's prime Barclays. I'm joking. You weren't even in the Premier League when it was Barclays, were you? So it's, it's...
So with Nottingham Forest in that pile of wank, we have Artur and Goncalo Guedes.
It's not even a pile of wank, is it, though? Because, you look at it and go, it's not even worth it. You look at that and that's like you buy, like, for example, let's say you buy a sausage roll from Greg's and there's no sausage inside the sausage roll.
So buying the vegan one.
No, I'm talking like there's nothing inside it. It's just pure pastry. You're eating pastry. It's like buying a ham and cheese sandwich and it's got turkey in it. Realistically,
What are you on about?
no one eats turkey. It's terrible.
What are you?
It's dry.
Who's in the bottom tier?
It's dry. And in the will get better tier, we've got Alexander Zinchenko, Isaac, Cucurella, Fofana, Malacia, Carvalho, Estupinan, Paqueta, Lewis Potter, Sekumara, Kaletakar, Aribo, Adams, Aronson, Collins, and Nunes. And that is...
Nearly forgot what his name was then, didn't you?
I know the player I was raving about, someone I forgot. And that is your quick review of the tiers.
If there's any we've got wrong, please let us know. Please,
No, don't let us know.
Please-
We don't care.
please
We-
abuse Callum Brannan
we-
on Twitter.
we-
I'm sure he will
We need the
respond.
interactions.
We need the interaction, so please put nice comments with a bit of abuse towards Lewis Williscroft at the end. Thank you all for listening. If you did enjoy, as I said, please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. Do all that stuff. Follow us all on Twitter. Our private Twitters will be, not private, our personal Twitters will be linked below. Please follow me on OnlyFans. And thank you all for listening. Goodbye, everyone.